welcome to your weekly energy report. Back to presentation mode. So I won't be looking at the camera a lot, but I'll be sure to check the screen if I have to. On my live, it's saying that I'm not logged into chat, but I have it open in another window. But I also have the presentation going. So I'll be going back and forth, and I'll check the chat as I can. But I'll have this posted tomorrow. Also, and if you need to leave a message, you can always leave one in the comment fields. I love your comments. Thank you so much for your support. The ones of you who have good comments, because y'all are crazy sometimes. But we are headed from the last quarter moon to the new moon this week. Last quarter moon is in Virgo. New moon next week is going to be in Sagittarius. We've got a couple of things to cover. I really want to make sure that as we go through these weeks, you recognize what these moons mean. So we're going to be going over that so that you kind of know where your energy is supposed to be focused emotionally for that week. So let's start the presentation. I'm always going to start with the theme of the week. So that's where we're starting. If you don't know who I am, I'm Candace with Lightworker Radio. And this is our weekly lunar energy report. It includes I Ching, Gene Keys, astrology. Even this week we have tarot. So depending on where the energy is, I try to bring as much information as I can to you to help you conquer the week to prepare for the next season. All right. So we're talking about this last quarter moon, and I need you to remember the last quarter. Okay. And if you think about what that means, it's like we're preparing for the end. Which is not a bad thing, but it is what we're doing. Okay. So I'm going to go over to the presentation and our theme of the week. And when I'm giving you these themes of the week, I want you to remember one thing. It's when the trigger is pushed, you have to think of the theme. That's what I'm trying to do here too. So the theme of the week is I surrender to this sensation and provide fuel for my inner fire. I'm going to repeat that. I surrender to this sensation and I provide fuel for my inner fire. Okay. So every time something comes up, if you can remember this, you can really use it to get through the week. We're going to talk about what that fuel is. We're going to talk about that sensation a lot and how to move through this. But if you can remember those two things, oh, baby, you'll be really moving this week. I know I'm going to try to remember. Okay. Now, quickly, you could do this in your mind. You could do this in the chat. I want you to think about the three major things you accomplished last week. Last week, our theme was precision over pressure. Okay. Were you precise or did you apply pressure? I did not do so well last week. I did accomplish a couple of tasks on my list. One of them was to finish Concept to Counter, which is my new like ebook for people who want to own a skincare company. I'm like guiding them how to go from thought to actual concept, like on the counter, like selling it. And so I got through all the major blogs that I wanted to do for that. That was one of the major things, and I feel like I was more organized last week, and I'm kind of keeping with some of the consistent things that I want to be doing, even though I'm not finding the fruit from them all yet, but I am still keeping with them. And those are what I'm going to call my wins. I know my challenges are going to be for the week, and it's going to be killing it at this pop up that I have this week. That and like I'm still reorganizing my finances because I had to get a new bank and do all of this LLC paperwork. And those are the things where I was like, some of them I have control over. Remember, what you don't, you have to give pull the pressure off of you, put it on your team, put it on God, put it on Holy Spirit. It doesn't have to belong to you. But if you can remember, as you get tricked this week, I surrender to the sensation and provide fuel for my inner fire. If you are on the YouTube, screenshot it. If you're on the podcast, write it down. Okay. I have not been on the podcast yet because I could not figure out how to download this and turn it into media because it was taking too long. And I'm just Leo, Aries, Aquarius. I just don't have the patience that I'm supposed to have. Okay. So let's go over to presentation. All right. First thing we're talking about is the last quarter in Virgo. So Virgo season, and there's a real big call for us to really lock in on the seasons that we are in our surroundings. Okay. So if you are in Detroit, like I am, we are going through fall to winter, through the decay and the fall of the leaves and the preparation for everything to be like spare rooted. All right. Like spared and like nothing on the leaves, all bare rooted and just like quiet for a while. We'll get to that. But I want to talk about what fall means through the idea of creation and through the idea of manifestation and just like getting to your dreams. And even every last quarter moon is associated with fall. And fall is really two things happening at once. First, you have this bounty of produce that comes, right? And you're a Virgo. It's Virgo season. It's the beginning of the season. It's like you are collecting and accounting for what you have gained during that season from the summer. Once you've collected everything in your bounty that you can actually use, the rest you would consider waste. And I'm saying that if we consider it from a more organic place of what nature would do when the leaves fall, when all of the fruit that's left on the vine is decaying and releasing and letting go, when that leaf falls off the tree, it goes to the ground, it releases like humic acid and fulvic acid, it breaks down, it feeds the roots. It brings in all kind of bacteria and growth. And in reality, it's the waste product of what you don't use that is your fuel for what you need next. Okay. So if you have one part of the fall where you are gathering and collecting and you see what you have, right? Your values, the things that you can collect, count, and hold earthwise, then you see the things that you cannot use. They don't serve you this season, no matter what it is. We can take our emotions out of it. That becomes something else. That is what we call the fuel. Okay, so I want you to really think about this in terms of. Sorry, I went out of presenter view for a second. Of what you're doing with the information that's coming in right now. You are collecting compost. All right. Now, that's what the last quarter moon represents. Fall, which is, again, it's a transition season, which is why Libra, the bridge, all right? You are moving from one state, high peak, to another state, the super low peak, right? And I don't mean peak in terms of energy, but just like from the full moon to the new moon. You're going from a state of being out to a state of being all the way in just as much as you were out, right? Uh, this is that transition season that we are exiting. And where we're headed when we get to that new moon is to death. Okay. And I got a lot to say here. The new moon will be in Sagittarius, and death seems to be lurking around me a lot recently. I had another animal pass a couple weeks ago, and it was really hard. And crazily enough, another cat that looked just like that cat, but bigger, not as skinny, showed up like 4 days before the other cat, the skinnier one, passed. And like, just, I feel like I've had 3 animal deaths this year. I know a lot of people that dealt with death this year. And all of a sudden, it occurred to me when I was thinking about one of the deaths, there was this sensation that kept coming in. And I thought that the sensation initially was like the energy of the animal that I was working with as they were transitioning. So, beginning of the year around March, my ducks were attacked by like a raccoon. It was gory and gross and just terrible. One of them lived for like an extra 2 weeks. We knew she wasn't going to make it, but she just had to be like cared for until the end. Then our cat had a blockage, and like there was nothing we could do. He had to be cared for, and we had to take him to the vet to be put down. Then this cat had like a freak accident. She fell off our balcony initially, and she had like an injury she just could not sustain. And she went outside. We didn't realize that she was injured. She went out and something happened. She just did not make it, and I had to nurse her to the end. And all these times I was connecting to this energy, and I thought it was like their energy waning. And then it just hit me one day, oh no, death was in the room. Okay. And I think I've had a very weird relationship with death. When it comes to people, I'm like, oh, you got to exit. Great. You get to start over. When it comes to animals, it's something about suffering uh, that I want the process to not be that and to go to the next thing faster. And so that weird middle bridge between not being here and being here, if it's not fluid and clean and pretty and nice, it don't vibe with me. Okay. And I have a really hard time with it. But then I started connecting to death and I started talking to death. And I got some really interesting information. So I thought of death as like this character that I have on the screen here, which I know you immediately think of in your head, like the Grim Reaper, right? This cloaked figure coming over and pointing at you. And literally, if you think about what your fear is, it's like it kills you. Okay. And then Death told me, it's like, no, actually, I'm just like an administrator of a portal, and I serve to keep the portal open as you cross thresholds. Okay. I'm not in charge of your date. I'm not in charge of what you do on the other side, even. I'm only here to make sure that this portal opens so that this soul can get over there. All right. I'm opening a portal. Everybody, I even got to the idea of like, you don't stick with this job forever. There are people who have to serve in this way, or people, souls, spirits, light beings, I don't know, have to serve in this way first. As, or not first, but like it's a very important role because you have to move a soul from here to there. Now, in other places, I think souls move easier. But if you don't know you're dead and you don't know how death works, which many of us are afraid of death, we don't recognize that it's one state to the next, right? We don't do so good at dying, and like we blame the administrator who's literally leaving the portal open. I even got the idea of like it's the same portal as birth. So again, a soul is coming from this side to this side. They're just opening the portal, okay? Because something resonated, a call was made, the bell dung, somebody's coming out, somebody's coming in. It's just answering the message, okay? Okay, I got to go open this portal in Detroit, Michigan at 6:42. Okay, the portal's open, the soul can pass. Same energy that comes in when you quantum leap. You're going through a portal. Somebody is in charge of the portal. Portals just don't stay open, like they're fluid, and someone has to help your soul traverse from this place to the next. So, as we think of death, if we can release this idea that this energy has the power to remove us unwillingly, because you actually can get over there and they say, you died, you want to come back. Of a lot of people, or people have contracts. I don't really know. I'm not saying I know exactly how it goes, but I want you to think about how we square off with this energy, because this energy, when we reach certain precipices in our spiritual growth, shows up to you. You don't throw like, I'm not throwing an animal in the portal, right? I'm not a serial killer. But there are parts of you that you're supposed to give to death each last quarter moon. Technically, it's part of a woman's creation cycle. Okay, it's the time when we are preparing for menstruation. If the egg doesn't get used and lined in the lining, it becomes fertilizer for the next season. You have to release something. You should be releasing something. You want to release something, and that's where we're going today, and that's what we're really talking about. So let's do a breakdown of where all the planets currently are in this nonsense season that we have currently. Okay. So, a breakdown. Pluto is sitting with limitations versus justice. Where do you feel squeezed? It's the cracking of the vessel to allow you to expand. Neptune is all about constriction versus universal love. Where are you holding back from you see everything is separate versus you see it all connected. Uranus is all about mediocrity versus exquisiteness. Are you trying to be like everybody else right now, or are you trying to find out where your authentic style and flair is? Mars is all about obscurity versus light. This one is very interesting. Uh, it's like, how are you shining? That's the best way to put it. Are you putting your energy towards your shine? um, and this fear of being left out or unseen. Saturn is all about turbulence versus compassion, and it's like if you're feeling like you have to have compassion when you're feeling this turbulence for everybody involved. And then Jupiter is about intellect versus impeccability, which is all about like, are you trying to outthink your way, or are you trying to make it fluid so it feels authentic flowing from you? Are you growing in a direction that feels like a natural flow? Mercury is all about compromise versus being boundlessness. Like you don't have to, the shadow is compromise. Compromise means somebody has to lose, when in reality, we should be in a situation where everybody wins. And then we have Venus, which is impatience, this harmony, where we're lacking, I think, in harmonic resonance might be being impatient versus this timelessness. And I think this, if you're working and if you're an entrepreneur, this has a lot to do with even just like how the fluidity of work flows out. If you are doing things that feel timeless and that you can keep doing it, or is it like this lack of impatience has you out here being mediocre and, in the turbulence and using your intellect over your impeccability, okay? Because you're a shining soul. So this might not mean anything to you in this format. So let's look at it like this, okay? The major things that are happening this week. I want you to see this weird shape. It's like a diamond, all right? And I do think of it like a portal or a diamond. And this weird diamond that you see here is featuring Pluto, Mercury, Uranus, and Jupiter. Okay, and to me, inside this diamond, if we can learn to balance these energies, is a gift. So I want you to ask yourself, when you're feeling limitations, or you have to compromise, or like it's being mediocre, you get that energy, or like you're trying to outsmart or out talk or be the bigger fighter. I want you to think about justice, bounteousness, exquisiteness, impeccability, if you can. So the way that we're going to transform here, right? There's a transformation happening and it's making it so that the same things are going to keep coming up again and again and again. We've got these loops that we keep getting stuck in, all right? To change that, we have to become that Christ-like energy that is bound in our light code. Uh, and it allows us, it's a communication of like, there's more on the field from source that you should be asking for and accepting when you are in that energy. And it's almost like your abundance is bounteousness and it's already there within the authentic resonance of your light being. Okay. And to get to that, we have to go through this squeeze where we feel limited to see what is justice really, what's right and what's wrong, what's up and what's down. When we get squoze in a corner, how do we grow where it works for everybody, right? That is to me going to be a major thing for the week that we want to think about. I've got more to say, obviously. So look at this other combination of shapes. We have like two triangles that happen to show up in the natal chart this week, the transit chart, sorry. And we have the last quarter moon sitting with the south node, like the Saturn sitting with the north node, pointing to Venus. Okay. Venus is all about harmony and love and beauty. She's currently in Sagittarius. She's asking you to go for this big dream that you have, right? But it's this impatience and this timelessness that where are we feeling impatient, like we're not getting what we want, right? The North Node is telling us to go towards structure and turn that turbulence into compassion and to go away from looking at what you do or do not have. And instead, seek the harmony in the field that is currently there. All right. Something tells me this is vibing with you because this is vibing with me. Um, where do you feel like you need to do this? So the South Node is always about like, yeah, we know you got this, but like, this isn't where your focus is, okay? And if it's sitting with the last quarter moon in Virgo, last quarter is all about finality, getting to the end, closing out the chapter, going over the bridge to death. And it's asking you to look at all of your fruit, good and bad, and determine what's no longer serving you. And then with Saturn, which is all about structure and discipline, and it's sitting in Pisces, which is so watery, and it's at the edge, ready to leave into Aries to be reborn. What structures are causing you turbulence versus compassion? And how can you release them to have more harmony? Okay, things that serve you longer than today. That's the question I want you to ask yourself this week. That's why I'm telling you surrender to the sensation. Okay. So I want to talk to you more in depth about the last quarter moon, which is sitting at 19 degrees. Uh, and it's all about this in Virgo, and it's all about the gate 47, transmuting the past and its oppression, which you could be feeling, which is the shadow. The gift is transmutation, and the D is transfiguration. Okay, so transmuting the past is all about like that's the fuel we're going to need to compost to get the fertilizer necessary for the next season. Okay. So taking that energy that might be stuck within you and moving it through you, transmuting it to transform into more of that Christ like God as high vibrational spiritual being we're focusing on, right? That we're trying to become. So when someone is pressing your buttons, triggering you, even this is annoying me, okay? You got to remember that it's light fuel. It's an emotional buildup and a containment of pressure. And your job is to alchemize it, okay? And it's literally like removing the junk DNA, the old story, and turning it into compost, okay? So if you can take that fuel, something's triggering you, you recognize your trigger, you can surrender to the sensation, so you don't waste the energy. And I think we have to just sit with it. I don't think we can do much more, but just be very present with it. And when you're present with it, you can start asking yourself questions that uh, go beyond you. And when you ask questions that go beyond you, you get to the real answer. So maybe, again, I surrender to the sensation. Our theme for the week, which we'll cover again at the end, is allowing you a chance to recognize that it's a sensation. It's just a sensation. It's just a chemical reaction in your body based on a story. You give yourself a chance to let it go. Okay? We all give ourselves this chance. Okay. Now, all times of last quarters are squares with the sun because they're squaring up. They're saying to each other, sun is saying, what do I need now? Looking across, if you think of it as a table, looking across from the moon and saying, where are your emotions for where we're trying to shine? The moon's got to answer for itself. The sun has a goal that it's trying to get to. The sun is sitting at gate 26. It's called the sacred trickster. The shadow is pride. The gift is artfulness. And the siddhi is invisibility. Okay, let's go into this. So the sun is going to be sitting very much at a space that is saying to you, you're going to have to deal with one of these two things. You can go towards fear and survival. It's bringing up survival wounds. Individual will above the whole. You can distrust the natural world and the easy flow of life, and it leads you to feel boastful or manipulative. Either way, it's like your pride is in the way of the truth. Only through surrender are you able to use the sun's energy, using your personal power and pride to sell or share your gifts with those who are called to them. You speak the language that resonates with the heart. It's called heart marketing. I want to stay here for a second because, especially if you're a light worker that is an entrepreneur, and that's what I really focus on, I need you to stay here for a minute and think about this. The crazy part about this is that is connected to the thyroid. So it's all about like communication of your gifts to the world. And I've been really focused on like, what are my gifts? How am I serving? How am I getting the fruit of my labor? Like, where am I organizing? Where do I need to work? What do I need to let go of? All of that stuff too. When you are, I want to take a salesperson, for example, and there are two different types. When you are in fear and survival, we sell through fear and survival. We try to convince other people of things through fear. As in, I'm going to take Luluti, for example. I could come at you with all the things that toxins are doing to your body and how bad your cells are and like why you're not working out, why you keep saying stress. But I'm really focused on fear and survival and individual will because I'm trying to like move you to do something, right? I'm trying to manipulate you, that's what sales is, to make an action. If I were to come at it from this level of hard marketing, I could just tell you what I love about my products and how they actually help you, right? And like serve from a place of, oh my gosh, you're stressed. I have something that can help you with that. Or, I understand that. Like it's a level and it's what we can't do is fake it. And it kind of happens authentically when you're in the right zone. So if you can think of it even as being in fear and survival, we know we're automatically in the upside down. And when we surrender to that, it's really just a drive of power of wanting to be seen, which is normal and natural and desire. All of these things are the human way. It's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be creating. And if you're going to create something, you created it for someone and you want those people to find it, right? And if you can come at it from this higher plane, you flow better. Something tells me that you can try. I can try to just sell you things thinking about that, but it's such a natural resonance that I don't think you can fake it. I think it has to come from very purely and authentically. Okay. So when you succeed at this, it opens your third eye even more, connecting your my will with thy will. It moves from being just about you to being about something bigger than you, and you become a stream. No longer you become one with existence. Again, it's connected to the throat chakra coming up to the pineal gland. So it's like this area is being cleared. It's how we're talking, communicating, selling, telling, helping, serving, arguing, all of that is what's caught up in this energy. And that is where the primary focus is on how we move this energy. And there's something about when you become a stream, it's you're just in your joy about it and it flows out of you naturally. You can't really fake it. This is connected to the I Ching 26, which is containment of potential. And I want you to think about this. I want you to think about compost again and like how you turn that compost into fuel. And sometimes it is required for you to, it's a buildup happening. That's why it's all about obstruction, constriction, and turbulence. Moving, think about something moving and not moving, right? Obstruction, if you feel these feelings, limitations, it's trying to build up some sort of potential energy from us. All right. And we need the fuel, but we have to shed the leaves to get the fuel. So we've got to release what's no longer serving us, what's dead to us. Okay. The how is the thing. How do we do this? I have something on here. It's like this show I want you to listen to. It's a podcast. It's called The Myths That Make Us. And it's the Shimmer series, episode 1. I think it's like 1 through 4, really good. How do you do this? You got to learn what a dark cookie is and you got to eat the dark cookie. Let's talk about a dark cookie. A dark cookie is that nagging thing in the back of your mind that you're doing that you don't want to be doing that you can't let go of yet. Okay. And the crazy thing about dark cookies is it does two things at the same time. One, we tell ourselves stories that are so big that the ability to transgress the dark cookie starts to feel insurmountable. Simultaneously, it's all a buildup of potential energy so that when you eat, they call it eating the dark cookie, you actually burst into the scene. Okay, you evolve big time. It's a giant quantum leap. This is why we have to, hello viewer, you can go back and I'm going to have this replayed tomorrow as well so you can learn about death. I channeled death here. I was talking to death. This is the opening of the portal that has to happen. This is why we got to get comfortable with death, because when you make quantum leaps, death is a portal administrator. They just open the portal for the other side. When you eat that dark cookie, you're literally dying on purpose, okay, to a part of yourself. Death opens that portal you quantum leap through. If you get comfortable with the sensation of what death feels like being around, it's easier to make that jump, that quantum leap. Okay. So I want you to, this episode, this thing, the myths, he talks about the dark cookie, is what he calls it, and how to get through a dark cookie moment. Okay. How to eat the cookies and how to become excited about feeling bad about something so that you can get through it. Because it's in that sensation, it's such a buildup of momentum because we've been holding these cookies for so long. This potential energy is so large and so grand that when we finally eat it, it's like we just ate a ball of fire and we go out. Okay. Best thing to think of, if I said, quick, tell me what you need to stop doing right now. You already know the answer. That's the dark cookie. That's one of your dark cookies. Okay. You immediately could make a list of the things you know you're not supposed to be doing right now. And those are the things you're supposed to be doing. Okay. And it's in those micro moments of the trigger where we lose control because our sensations get the better of us. And that is when it is incredibly imperative and important that you use the theme of the week that I have here, because then we can surrender to the sensation and use that fuel for our fire. Okay. Now, this is the tarot spread that I did. And I've been sitting with this one actually for a couple of days because I thought it was really imperative. This is Invisible Tarot. This is my favorite tarot deck because I just think it's like pretty point blank period. You can kind of see where this is going without me needing to explain much to you. But over on the left hand side, it's like there's a fight that's happening internally more than even externally. It's just showing up in the external, but it's an internal fight. You need to literally like give it up to the cups. Like it's all about your emotions. This is the 10 of cups. So it's like be happy you got the fuel or the juice. Okay, you got to be happy that you got something to shed, that something that came up for you to fight. You recognize you have a full cup now of potential energy. If you can surrender that cup of potential energy and you can stand in your power, your authenticity, your vortex of potential energy expands and becomes whatever you want it to be. That's that energy we need to get through the next season. Okay. Now, when we get through the next season, we're going into 3 days of darkness. That's the 3 months of winter. It's going to be a very different time. We're going to talk about that next week when the new moon comes up, because that's what that's representing. But there's this giving up of like our will and our surrendering to feeling it and not having to fight it. That is not required. Okay. And I'm bringing the theme up again. I surrender to this sensation and provide fuel for my inner fire. So when that trigger point gets hit and they say that thing you don't want them to say, or that something comes up and it's not working the way that you want it to do, or you know what it is, you have to surrender to the sensation, and you got to remember this is fuel. Now, if you're just getting here, you're reaching me at the end of the presentation that I went over, and it will be live tomorrow. If you subscribe, you'll see that it's gone into my feed. What you need to know is that this is compost of potential energy that helps you evolve. Okay, it nothing more, nothing less. That's all it is juice. We need these sensations. We need these energy buildups. How many times do you, besides being pissed, right, or being super happy, excited about something, feel this giant swell of energy? Okay, take that giant swell of energy and let it be used for something that helps you grow. Okay, so that's what we're being required to do. And how do we do it? It's in the baby steps. There is no fast way. It's taking the thing that as it comes up and being face to face with it and saying, you know what, I'm gonna have to let this fuck go because I'm not growing. I keep hitting the same wall. It's not working. I surrender to this sensation and provide fuel for my inner fire. Okay, because I need it. I need this juice. Okay, and I'm just going to even show you when you do this. When you do this, if you can do this, if you can take the fear and the survival, okay, and you can take it out of the picture, when you can surrender to that nature of your being based on just the genetic code lines that we've all collected that are asking us to do hard things. And you can surrender to it. And it only happens through surrender. It only happens when you say, I surrender my sensation, or actually surrender your sensation, right? Your personal power activates. And it's like, it's jet fuel. Okay, so what we need is jet fuel because we got a long, quiet season where our roots are going to be growing. We're not stagnant. Winter is very much focused on bringing nutrients to the roots, and as you release these things, you're providing soil, you're providing fertilizer, you're providing humus, you're providing guana, you're providing whatever they call worm poop. That is what is necessary to feed the roots to push you through for spring. Okay. And if we were living in our true nature, this is the time we would be giving things up. We would be atoning. Okay. So if you can go into the energy ready to release, I think it's going to really serve you. And I do think that there is something about moving through each season of our life. And at the end of the season, if you can release something, as we go through the transition, maybe it's a fast. I've got a nourishment diet I've got coming up. Instead of taking away, I want to add to and like bless everything and like eat really healthy and throw in as much, eat so many good foods that I don't have time to eat anything bad, right? That's going to come up in around January. And that may be what helps us get through from winter to spring. But I want you to think about this fuel that you're going to have, and I want you to use this juice. You're just going to store it for now. You don't have anywhere to put it because you have to just surrender it. You can't say where it's going to go. That's really not up to you. It's inside your code. It's inside your DNA. It knows exactly where to go. Okay. And that is what I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thank you guys for being here. Again, this will go live. This will go live. This will go up as an original post 24 hours with whatever YouTube does to it. And you can get the whole review of the week. But I'm back here every Wednesday live at noon. Okay. Have a good day. I'm Candace with Lightworker Radio. And I surrender to this sensation and provide fuel for my inner fire. I surrender to this sensation and I provide fuel for my inner fire. That's what we're doing whole week. Keep the theme alive. use it when you need it as your juice, and then come back with a new theme next week. Okay. Micro themes are going to help us get through to the next seasons. And really, I'm trying to stick with, have us all conglomerate together so that we all feel like we're trying to really do something bigger than ourselves. Okay. So thank you again.